Okay, I think Deborah stepped out for a little bit, so I'll take it upon myself to introduce Joe Scally from Chicago. Joe at one time was the Director of Training for Positive Coaching Alliance. He went back to his law practice in Chicago some years ago and remains one of our most active trainers. He's primarily backgrounded in soccer, as he's had daughters who played soccer in high school. He's a terrific speaker. He's going to give you, I think, about 30 minutes of what is actually our double goal coach workshop, coaching for winning in life lessons. And hopefully there'll be some interactivity among us, and Joe will lead us through it. So thank you very much, Joe.
Thanks, David. Thanks. And thanks, everybody, for being here. And I'm going to try to do exactly what David said, go through a half an hour, give you a taste of what we usually do in a workshop. In the interest of full disclosure, I'll say right up front, I'm a lifelong Blackhawks fan, so please don't hold that against me. And I was glad the Wild beat them the other night. It was a real good game. I watched the whole thing. But I'm excited to be here. I've come to Minnesota a few times to do some workshops, and I'm really glad that I got this opportunity to talk to you, because I love going places to talk about positive coaching. I've known about positive coaching since I read the book Positive Coaching that Jim Thompson wrote about 16 years ago. And I've used it in my coaching ever since. I've coached football and basketball, and as David said, primarily soccer. And I know that this stuff works. I've coached 6-year-olds and 20 years old rec teams and very competitive tournament teams, and it works. You can get it to fit your personality, what your team needs, what the kids need, and it's very flexible in that way. So I hope everybody got the book that's shown up here, The Power of Double Goal Coaching. That's the best part of the workshop. I could talk for 3 hours and not cover everything that's in there. It looks like a small book, but it's got a lot of good information in there. Tools that coaches can use. I'm going to talk mainly today about our principles and how we approach working with not only coaches but parents and athletes and leaders of organizations to help build a positive sports culture for kids. Because if we let Wes talk, or if Wes had the opportunity to talk for another hour or two, he would say everything that was in our workshop. Because what he said to David are things that we talk about with coaches, tools that we talk about, how to give criticism, how to support kids, how to find what they're doing well, how to keep them playing so that they can learn life lessons. Every year there's about 44 million kids that play sports, all different sports in the United States. And they all start nowadays when they're 5, 6, 7 years old. Do you know how many of those kids are still playing any sport at all when they're 13, by the time they've reached 13? What percentage do you think are still playing any sport at all? Guesses or ideas? What do you think? 20%. Actually a little bit higher. 25 to 30%, depending on the sport and the region, but it's pretty consistent. 25 to 30%. And when they're asked, why did you drop out? One reason consistently rises to the top. What do you think it is?
Not fun anymore.
Exactly, not fun anymore. It goes along with what Wes was saying. When your coach yells at you in front of your teammates or does something that makes you feel bad, it's not fun anymore. And fun doesn't mean going out goofing around. It means learning the sport, learning how to be better, learning how to progress, and that's what we ask double goal coaches to do. But it also includes remembering that it's a sport and it should be fun. I'm sure a lot of you played sports, if not all of you played sports growing up or beyond. I got into sports because I love repetitive drills, running laps, and being lectured to on the car ride home. That's why I got into sports. And if we get enough of that, that's why I stayed in it, because I got enough of that. But I also got coaches who really did make it fun. And when we as parents and coaches and leaders of organizations, and even our peer athletes can make it fun, have a passion about it, want to learn, but see that there should be some joy in it as well, then that's when we're doing what we hope double goal coaches and others do to build a positive sports culture. We have a number of people well known in sports who are part of our advisory board. Some of them are pictured on a poster in the back. We get a lot of information from them about what works in sports and how to keep kids involved and what's good coaching and good parenting. I'm going to let one of our National Advisory Board members, Steve Young, talk about the importance of coaches.
Your athletic career is most impacted, I think, by the first couple of coaches that you see in your youth sports. That's how you start to model in your mind how you deal with adversity, how you deal with team, how I fit within the team, all those concepts. And so I think my coaches, the most influential coaches, are my first couple who are parent volunteers.
So think about that. You know, the ones who have the most influence are the coaches that have kids when they're the youngest. And that's when, as Wes was describing, you can turn a kid off to a sport, or you can find that fire within them. You know, it's easy for a coach to light a fire under somebody, but we're hoping as double go coaches that we light that fire within them so that they find their passion for a sport. And it's going to be different sports for different kids, and really run with it as long as they can so that they can enjoy the sport, learn the sport, but learn life lessons as they go. So I want to begin by, or jump into it by asking you to think about who was the most influential coach in your life. Someone who taught you about a sport, or about yourself, or about something in life. And if it's not a coach, think of a teacher or some other kind of mentor, somebody who did this for you. And if you could just turn to somebody near you and in groups of 2 or 3, talk about that coach and how he or she influenced your life. And then we'll come back and share some of that in a couple minutes.
She would like to talk one time for talking trash. Also called me aside one time after I was mad after not getting in the second half of the game because we won the game. Starting shooting guard, scored up points to win the game. He saw I was down in the locker room after me and he said, "Jeff, you lose that game, you can't play me all around like the one time you won the game." And that's the whole point. Sometimes you got to stay with the guys you got to hot. That was Coach Mack. I also helped him move. He moved on to a different high school and then coached in Nebraska as a graduate assistant for a long time. And coached other than Dick Robinson, you know, when I was in 8th grade basketball practice, took me in the locker room away from the cheating out, not doing it in front of my peers, but loud enough that they could all hear it. Substitute my 5th grade brother. Other than that, he's been sad.
My swim coach, high school swim coach, was Elmo, and he's been doing it for 50 years old. I knew everything about swimming, right? And what impressed me most about him was he knew I had.
All right, I know I'm interrupting some conversations, but in the interest of time, I want to make sure we have time for a few different discussions. Who would like to tell us about a coach you just heard about or talked about, and how they influenced you? Go ahead, thanks.
I guess the most influential coach that I had was a gentleman named Sean Hanna. He was the head coach of the Sacred Heart hockey team, but he coached my AAA hockey team when I was growing up. I was 14. And going into it, you know, I had not great coaching experiences playing youth hockey. I was always told I wasn't good enough by my teammates. And even going into this, this select hockey team, was told, why even try out? Try out for the team, make the team. And there wasn't really anything in particular that he would do, but he just made me feel so good about myself. I probably worked harder for him than I ever had for any other coach in my life, just because I loved playing hockey under him. And it wasn't because I had great friends on the team, it's because I didn't really care about what anybody else said, because I knew that he told me to keep my head up and he told me to just keep playing. And so I just really remember what he did in terms of my confidence.
And did that sort of permeate into other parts of your life too? The lesson about confidence and
Yeah, definitely. I think that it helped me as I went through high school and even in college, being a captain of my tennis team in college, allowing me to sort of be confident in leadership, and then also sort of understand who might be sort of lagging behind and what kids need to be picked up a little bit more than the other ones, because there's definitely kids that are great on the field, but they lack the social skills or the social confidence to be able to really motivate themselves.
Yeah. Thanks. That's a great story. Thanks. Anybody else who'd like to share something about a coach, a mentor, teacher? Yes.
Yes, mine was Dan McLaughlin, was my reserve team basketball coach sophomore year in high school, and we were about as good as most reserve teams you'd see around there. But he was also the head varsity football coach and went on. He's now Division II college football coach at Wayne State. But he brought the attitude to us. He didn't coach us any differently from any other team. He opened up the gym early for us. He was always in shooting with us. And I just remember when I was telling Bruce about it from that year, we had a big comeback win in the second half, and I sat the bench the entire second half. And he could tell in the locker room my head was down. He called me into his office. He said, "Hey, Jeff, come in here and complain as much as you want about playing time if we lose that game. But Chad was hot as the two-guard playing, and I wasn't going to bench the guy who was making our comeback win. Understand the team won, and that was the role you had to play today."
Yeah.
Clearly, it stuck with me 20 years later. I'm still
Yeah. But he went out of his way to do that.
Yep.
He didn't have to have that conversation with you. And yeah, we talk to coaches a lot that kids don't need to be starting and playing the whole game. They need to know that they have a role on the team. And that may even be not playing much in a particular game, but that everybody's contributing. And I'm sure you played in other games where you made a contribution. Yeah. And so that's what we're hoping coaches will do for kids. These kinds of examples, build self-confidence, take an interest in a kid so that they understand that they're important to you as a coach, important to their teammates, so that they'll keep playing. And as we said, learn the sport, but also learn all the life lessons that you'll remember. So we ask coaches when we talk to them to think about how they want to be remembered 20, 30 years from now. When somebody's asking about them sitting in a room like this, I think some of you may have thought of coaches who had a negative influence on you or who treated you poorly. And a lot of times coaches will say, well, that was a good lesson for me because I learned that's something I never wanted to do to kids when I was coaching. But however you want to be remembered, we tell coaches, now is the time to start doing it. Now is the time to start doing those things, and it's not about the wins and losses. Just very briefly, as most or all of you know, PCA is a not-for-profit based out of Stanford University, out of the athletic department there. These are some of the places around the country where we've given workshops. We do about 1,300 a year around the country, and we have online courses and a number of other things. We've done studies recently that show that these workshops and all the other things that we're doing have a great impact on kids, that it really helps them have a positive experience. And I think as time goes on, there'll be more studies like that. But we also know from a lot of the people that are involved with us, including a lot of these organizations who back us, national governing bodies of youth sports, that they believe in what we're doing. Our research-based model, our model based on the best knowledge of a lot of good coaches and athletes and parents of and business people and research psychologists and others who tell us this is what works. And that's why I get so excited to come and talk to people, not because I'm a great coach or have any particularly great insights as a coach, but I'm able to learn from these people, and over the years have, and I hear from people at workshops, and I convey that information that I hear from a lot of others and tell you what really can work and what can help so that we can all use this together. And we have a lot of people, as I mentioned, on our National Advisory Board. Phil Jackson, who's been our national spokesperson since the beginning, who really talks us up and believes in what we're doing, and others who you see up there as well, who, again, give us ideas about what works, talk us up so that we can help achieve our goal of transforming youth sports so sports can transform youth, to really keep kids involved and playing all the time. So we use the double goal coach model, which again, I'm sure many of you are familiar with. It's in contrast to the model we often see when we're watching sports on television in our society, which is the win-at-all-cost coach. You know, Wes was talking about that a little bit. They go on ESPN, they criticize, the only important thing is winning. And it's true at the professional level, winning is important. But when we get below that, with even college-age kids and high school kids and certainly young kids, it's about education. It's not about winning. And it should always be about education and development, helping players be better, but also learning life lessons. And the players are going to be concerned about winning. If you're coaching or if you play a sport, you want to win. There's nothing wrong with that. We believe that's a good thing. But the coaches and the parents and everybody else involved in youth sports should have in mind a bigger picture of developing kids and helping them learn a lot of life lessons. So we know that these two goals of the double goal coach, striving to win and teaching life lessons, really go hand in hand. That if you're teaching good life lessons about the value of hard work, about bouncing back from mistakes, about respecting your coach and the authority of the officials, about being a good teammate, about having a good attitude, about being prepared, about all the things that sports can teach us, there's a good chance you're going to win some games. And that if you have the motivation to win, it makes the life lessons more poignant. So we know that these two go hand in hand, but when we talk to coaches, we ask that if there's ever a choice between teaching a life lesson and winning, that they always choose teaching a life lesson. That they never care about winning a particular game, bending the rules, or sending the wrong message to their players just to win a particular game. And as a result, we hope to build a positive sports culture where you can see how everyone participates. Double goal coaches, parents who focus on teaching life lessons. How many of you have been to a youth sports event where you've seen parents coaching from the sidelines? Has that ever happened? Does it happen in Minnesota? Okay, it happens once in a while, at least. Yeah, we hear parents yelling directions, telling their kids what to do. We kind of talk about a rule of thumb that if you're directing verbs at the ice or the playing field or the track or wherever your kid is competing, you're probably coaching from the sidelines. Lay off the verbs. Yell and cheer and support them for all the things they're doing well, for the goals you want to see them achieve. You know, success in sports, when we stop to think about, and what we tell parents is, it's not about whether your kid is on the state championship team. That's a nice thing, and we enjoy that. And kids want to do that, and that's a good thing. But the real lessons are the ones they're going to carry to the job, or to their neighborhood, or to colleagues at work, or to an organization that they're working with. Those are the lessons that we hope they learn through sports and become what you can see we call up here triple impact competitors. Those who work to make themselves better, their teammates better, and the game better. As a model for living in society, if we're doing this in whatever we're involved in, we're going to be successful. And we're going to increase the chances that those around us are successful as well. So that's really what we hope kids are getting from sports. And we use 3 principles to support this. The Elm Tree of Mastery, which is about what is winning. It's about winning. The Filling the Emotional Tank, which is how do we support kids and keep them learning and keep them motivated. And then Honoring the Game. It's about sportsmanship. So I'm going to, in a workshop, we would spend almost 2 hours going over all of these and having more discussions. So we're just going to touch on this. And again, I encourage you to read the book to get more into depth about the various tools. For each of these principles, we have 6 or 7 tools that coaches can take and use on the field at practice or games the very next day. So they're easy to use, but they're also very deep. You can make them your own and be creative with them. And we're just going to sort of touch on them here to whet your appetite. So let me ask you this question. Which Olympic athletes win more medals? Those who focus on winning and on the outcome, or those who focus on being the best they can be and mastering their sport? How many would vote for number 1? Nobody? I can't encourage anybody. It's okay, even though we're positive coaching, to say winning can be a focus. So everybody else would say number 2. Why is that? Why is number 2? And the research shows that. Why is it that basically ignoring the outcome and focusing on mastering your sport helps you win more? Yeah.
Well, you can't control the outcome.
Yes. Yeah, you can't control the outcome. So these are things you can control in number 2. How hard you work, what you focus on. Other reasons? Yes?
Focus is on how,
How?
not the outcome.
Yeah. So you're putting more energy into learning how to do things that will help you. Yeah, if any of you are familiar with John Wooden's Pyramid of Success, he always said that he never mentioned the word win to any of his teams. He won a lot, but he built this pyramid that helped them get to that pinnacle. And it was all the how. How do we do this? What things do we need to do to be good? Other reasons?
You can always get better.
You can always get better, yeah.
You can win without being your best.
Yes, you could be the biggest, fastest kid this year and do pretty well, but if you're not learning how to get better, eventually you're going to hit a wall. And you can be the kid who's not the most talented and do very well by getting better and working hard. And it also helps when you go through those periods where you're losing a lot, because your focus is not just on the outcome. That can be pretty discouraging if the outcome is the only thing that matters to you and you're losing. But when you can see progress, and that's what we tell coaches as well, when you can see your players progressing, even though you're not winning much at all, you can take some satisfaction from that. And if you convey that to your kids, that's what keeps them in it and keeps them going along. In 5th grade, I played for a football team. We didn't win a game all year. But somehow our coach kept it fun. We came back. All of us kept playing. By 8th grade, we played in the championship game, and a lot of us went on to play for high school that was pretty successful. All of these things come from focusing on mastery and progress and doing better. So that's really what we're talking about when we're talking about winners. How many of you have been with your child or another kid, they have on a uniform, you go in a gas station, grocery store, what do perfect strangers come up and ask your child who has a uniform on?
Did you win?
Did you win? Yeah, we want to know, did you win? Because that's an important thing in our society. And our questions reflect what's important to us. So I've done it, maybe you've done it, a lot of people, did you win? But that's about results. What we know is that on the right-hand side are the things that winners do. Make an effort, learn all the time, and let mistakes be okay. And that makes up the elm tree of mastery. You can see the first letter of each of those words or phrases make up elm. I would encourage you, and I won't go into it too much here, about the importance of effort and having the right mindset to read in the book, I think it's on page 16, about Carol Dweck's research, who talks about how we can approach problems. Some of you may have read her book called Mindset. But she encourages us to build kids who are resilient by realizing that effort makes all the difference. That if I work hard enough and in the right way about a challenge, I can overcome it and I can succeed. And she gives us a very simple tip for doing that as coaches and parents. Don't focus on talent, focus on effort. Instead of saying, wow, that was a great shot, you're a fantastic forward in hockey. Say, I know you've been out on the ice shooting the puck over and over again, and your hard work is paying off. And her very sophisticated research shows that just that turn of a phrase can help build resiliency in kids, can help them understand that effort's important. And we ask coaches to look at learning and progress, as we've mentioned, and also to let mistakes be okay. Now, how many of you think mistakes are okay? So that's easy to say. I'll raise my hand. Standing here in this room where it's nice and quiet and we can listen to each other. How about when you're out on the sidelines? How about when you're watching a game? How about when it's your kid that makes a mistake, or if you're coaching, it's one of your players that makes a crucial mistake? Does it still feel okay, or sometimes do they see us doing one of these? Oh, that can't be my kid. They can't have made that. We worked on that in practice all week. So what we encourage coaches to do is not only say mistakes are okay, but to live it. To have the right kind of body language, to let kids make mistakes when they're trying new things. You know, Wes again gave a great example. Kids out there trying to do what you've asked them to do, they do it. May not be the best outcome always, it may not be where you expected it to go, but you congratulate them for that. You find the things they did well and let them learn from their mistakes. Because, as you mentioned, this gives players a feeling of control. They can control how hard they work, they can control their learning, they can control bouncing back from mistakes. They can't control the outcome or what the other players are doing or what the opposing team looks like. So we often ask throughout our workshops coaches to talk about scenarios as a way of getting ideas from the group of coaches, because that's the most impactful thing, is coaches sharing ideas with each other. So I'm going to ask all of you to look at this scenario. Jesse hangs his or her head every time